Well, as world leaders and politicians watched the US election results roll in overnight, there was one British MP who had a ringside seat. Reform leader Nigel Farage was at Trump's Mar-a-Lago watch party, and he joins me now from Florida. Good evening, Mr. Farage. Did you get any sleep last night?
Good evening. Very, very little, but there was a lot to celebrate. It is the most extraordinary political comeback, not just in American history. I can't think of any parallel, and it says a lot about the sheer resilience of the man. Whether you like him or not, he is an extraordinary human being.
Have you spoken to him today? If so, what did he say?
I spoke to him last night. I spoke to him briefly last night, and I mean, the whole thing was extraordinary. I mean, there were, people in the ballroom at Mar-a-Lago whooping it up, and Donald Trump was just cool as a cucumber, just taking it all in. It was quite a remarkable thing to witness.
Honestly speaking, did you really expect this to happen? I know you called it last night, you said it's a dead cert, but things were not certain, were they, in the run-up to the poll?
I felt he'd win, and I felt that for some weeks. And the reason is he was putting together a remarkable coalition. Hispanic voters, people who'd come legally to America, furious that over 10 million people have illegally crossed the Rio Grande during the time of Biden's presidency. The black vote. He has secured more black votes than any Republican has ever managed before. And very interestingly, the young vote, especially young men who are looking for a strong role model and a strong leader. So now I could see this remarkable coalition coming together, and arguably America is coming together under Donald Trump, not being divided by it.
OK, but what about the relationship that this government, do you think, will have with Mr. Trump? I mean, there's been some quite strong criticism of him. David Lammy called him a tyrant in a toupee. He might choose to disagree with that. William Hague, he's a very sober commentator normally. He called him a serious danger. This a couple of days ago. He said, we need him to lose.
Yeah, and, Sadiq Khan, a Labour mayor of London, has had almost a sort of 10-year running feud with Trump. Look, things have been said by British leading Labour politicians in government about him that were pretty horrible. That won't disappear overnight. But the one thing I've learned, knowing Trump over the years, is he does forgive people. He does forgive people. Boris Johnson said some pretty beastly things about him. He was forgiven. Ted Cruz, the senator from Texas, a very senior Republican, said some awful things about him, and yet he was forgiven. And the same goes for J.D. Vance. So look, this relationship can be mended, and it must be mended. Our trade relationship with America is vital, and if they're going to start putting tariffs on overseas products, we need a negotiation. We've got to start rolling out the red carpet now to make sure that doesn't happen to us, and I believe that that is achievable. Plus our intelligence sharing, defence, this relationship really, really matters. And I think the Labour government are going to have to work very hard at this.
Sounds like you're making a bit of a pitch for that job, Mr. Farage. I mean, I was going to ask you, why do you hang out with him so much? What do you do when you're out there? Why do you keep popping over to Florida?
Well, look, it's a friendship. It's a friendship. Both of us are, I guess, anti-establishment politicians, populists, if that's what you want to call us. We have an enormous amount in common. I've built a friendship with him and his family, and he may not be to everybody's tastes. I get that. He's an out-there New Yorker, but I think his instincts on the big issues and what he did, for example, with the Abraham Accords to try and bring peace to the Middle East, these were amazing achievements, and I think the world needs Donald Trump, and it'll be a safer place with him here.
But seriously, though, you do sound like you're pitching to be the man to, just be emollient in the relationship, a special relationship. Is that what you're going for? And I'm wondering, if that is the case, what do your constituents in Clapton make of that?
No, let's be absolutely clear. I made a decision a few months ago that I would stand for the Westminster Parliament. I've become an MP, and I'm very fortunate to be an MP for Clacton, and I will represent that constituency and do my best for it. That is not going to change. There is no way the Labour government would ever make me the British ambassador in Washington. That was never going to happen. But, there are ways in which I think I could help smooth the relationship between Trump, the people he's going to appoint into senior roles in the administration, most of whom I also know. If I can be helpful as a bridge between the two, I would do it. And it's not because I agree with anything the Labour government stands for. I do it because it's in our national interest.
And if that doesn't happen, if the relationship is not mended, as you describe, do you think we have real reason to fear in this country from President Donald Trump, number 47?
we have real reason to fear that the world is a more dangerous place right now than it's been at any point in my lifetime. Ukraine, the Middle East, the South China Sea, there are so many things happening, and we need the American president to take over the leadership of the free world and to say to these dictators, look, there's someone here now that you need to respect. With Biden, they simply ignored him and walked all over him.
OK, Mr Farage, when are you coming home? When can your constituents expect to see you? When's the party going to end, do you think, in other words?
Well, no. I should be back home tomorrow at some point.